What happens at the lab is earth-shattering, groundbreaking, change-making.
The lab became a hub and a space for critical, community-engaged learning, teaching, and praxis.
I think it's incredible work. Not only do they have a relationship with people who are incarcerated, they help people understand that the people who are incarcerated may have made some mistakes in their lives, but they're still human.
The Human Rights Lab has created a community of folks at the University of Chicago who are dedicated for the long term to ending mass incarceration, struggling for abolition in a myriad of ways, either through their academic work, through their artistry, and through their work in community organizations or campus activism.
So specifically, the lab serves formerly incarcerated communities, currently incarcerated communities, any sort of system-impacted communities, the mothers and families of incarcerated people, and anyone who is invested in doing the work to tear down prisons.
Students who are passionate and care about fighting alongside those currently and formerly incarcerated.
That you've been touched as a human being in the particular way in which this program that you were in touched your life, changed you, gave you a home base to connect with other people who you might be very surprised are personally touched by mass incarceration. And so the lab provides a home for folks, for many of us who have this as a family issue, as a professional issue, as a personal issue, as a lifelong issue that we care deeply about.
For the university, it set up a model for the ways in which the university might think about its own engagement with the community, which has a fraught history.
I grew up not far from here, but this was like a world away from me. You know, it was only blocks, but it seemed like worlds away from somebody from wherever I was. And for me to get a chance to be here and be with you all and be considered a part of this community is just great.
The beauty of the lab is that every person who's involved has got a sort of different area that they're working in.
The last 5 years have been really a whirlwind. Each year we've developed a new pilot.
We decided to convene the Mass Incarceration Working Group to gather all those people who are off working in silos. There might be some synergy in ways that we could all work together to have a larger impact.
Not only does the lab work with those of us that are, as they say, directly impacted, I say experienced, formerly incarcerated people, but they also allow us to work with the students and the students to work with us and get to know us. I talk to my peers about coming over here. People that would never think that they ain't going over there, man, that's the University of Chicago. They don't want us over there. And I'm like, man, I was the artist for the people over there. I was able to put on display many of my pieces that I did when I was actually on death row. But I also produced some new pieces because times have changed and there's new messages that I wanted to share.
Our work in the end is about ending the walls that divide those who are incarcerated from those outside.
The Human Rights Lab is invested in reimagining the classroom space.
Alice and Kathy Cohen started a mixed enrollment class where they were taking undergrad students in the Stateville to have a course.
Being part of the Narrating Social Change class in the fall especially was a very deep and meaningful experience.
So I had taken part of a mixed enrollment class before. I wanted outside students to be able to come into this space. I wanted them to see us in this space in a different light, in a different narrative than what's put forth out there when it comes to prisoners, right? And I wanted them to see we are more alike than we are apart, right? I wanted to share that sort of intergenerational space.
Give us the opportunity to be heard and demonstrate our civility and humility.
It was transformational for me because I was one of them skeptics who thought that when people from the outside come in, they watch us and they're waiting for us to do inmate stuff. What that is, I don't know. But I will admit that I owe our young people, which I'm calling them our young people because they belong to us now. So I owe our young people an apology. Y'all have changed my mind. Y'all have been a great representation of what young people can be.
Absolutely.
So thank y'all.
Thank you.
Just from my experience, the bonds that were made and the narrative that was able to be passed from us to them on the outside, and us to be able to interact with the youth in a fresh perspective on social justice and the things they're doing out there. It was just exciting, and I think it was a relationship forming, and there was things we need to grow.
Well, I know that together in taking that class, we actually narrated social change. We took our narrative back and we made our story, or we began a story that needed to continue to grow and is growing today.
It also pushed how I imagine education and what spaces and what people deserve education, to be a part of these conversations, to lead and shape how a classroom and a class functions. One of my favorite moments and experiences of being here in all of UChicago.
I feel like I'm a different teacher and researcher and person because of the class that we all had together. And I want to just start by and stop with saying the love of that classroom was transformative.
One of the most powerful trips I've taken in my life was the one that we did to the Civil Rights Trail, where we went to Alabama. And it was absolutely incredible, life-changing.
It was like, a family that I had never met.
A lot of the work that I've done has been pretty focused in the past year on starting a prison education program at Logan Women's Prison.
My main project was I coordinated all the research requests that we fulfill for incarcerated scholars at Logan.
I'm just thankful and grateful for the outside community that comes in here to make community with us. An investment that goes beyond just teacher student, the faculty from the University of Chicago. It's a relationship where we really value each other as friends and community.
It's a human rights organization, and they will help you no matter what. And the circumstances doesn't even matter.
At the core, it's a space that is exactly how we want to exist in the university. I think my community, my values, my politics, some of the most transformative experiences I've had are all traced back to the lab.
I think what happens at the lab is a lot of love and love in practice. It's really informed everything that I believe in, care about, and hope to pursue in the future.
And the lab not only works to emphasize that humanity that's so often lost in incarceration or forgotten once people are entered into incarceration, but also in the way that we practice community with each other, in the way that we practice love with each other, and the way that we practice working towards a more free future with each other.
This is by far the best part of UChicago in my experience.
This is a space that is protecting and promoting the humanity of everyone, and I love that.